Hey guys. So, this isn't going to be my typical scripted affair. This is going to be me pretty much giving my first impressions on Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. And considering that my most popular video at the moment is the Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's Hope, Dreams, and Expectations video with a mere couple hundred views, it's still my most popular video, so I figured this would be very appropriate. Now, my first impressions on the Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's anime, or really the entire direction Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been going so far, has kind of been a mixed bag. I do think this is the best option they could have gone without putting holes into the TCG, because I even said in that video, we cannot have another mechanic. We're done with mechanics. Like, we just can't do it anymore. So, making their own little spin-off that's sort of inspired by Duel Stinks, or Duel Links, I don't really, I'm not a big Duel Links player, as you can probably tell by my lack of content involving it, but yeah, I'm not really a big Duel Links fan, but the fact that they decided to go that direction rather than giving us another mechanic and just putting another hole in the TCG was honestly the best executive choice they could have made, and I do vouch for that. But with that in mind, I want to talk about the first couple episodes. Now, aside from the main character, Yugioh and Rook, I can't remember the rest of their names, so I'm just gonna call the other one Purple Hair Lady. They are all elementary schoolers. So, Purple Hair Lady and Strict Guy. The guy who always has to follow the rules and has to educate people on the rule. So they all play on stereotypes. Rook is basically he's kind of the Brock character, but a little conceited, a little full of himself. Yugioh, he basically just wants something a little different aside from the typical Yu-Gi-Oh! Affair. And I think the way they tried to advertise that is kind of a bad one, because the idea is like, oh, he's just tired of the rules. He wants less rules in the game, and it's like, well, you realize rules are the very thing that make the game, so your opponent just doesn't say, oh, I'm gonna flash a bunch of money, or hey, I win because I can just beat you up. Rules are essentially what dictate a game to begin with. And without them, well, you hardly have a game. You basically just have a bunch of people declaring themselves a winner, and that their opponent is the supposed loser. So, with that in mind, let's get into episode 1. Now, episode 1, like I said, it involves these 4 kids. By the way, the purple bitch is a stalker, keeps taking photographs of the main protagonist, and is constantly following him around. I don't know why. Kind of creepy. Yeah, I don't really care for that much. But regardless of that, it's basically the main protagonist, Yugioh, trying to make his own version of the trading card game. But it's weird how they try to make the whole setup. And what I mean by that is that in this episode, Yugioh essentially has to duel against a statue or a gate that at the end of the episode basically unlocks all duel discs to have the ability to perform rush duels. But it's weird because it's supposed to be the main protagonist's idea. But there's just this gate that I guess hacks into every duel disc when he wins. And then Rook apparently lost against him too. It's a very confusing setup, and it's clear that this anime is going more for little kids, obviously. Kind of more on the likes of GX. Even though GX got a lot more mature by season 3 and 4. The main concept of GX was we had this very big serious story that happened in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. Well, I don't think we can really do any better writing than that, so let's just slow the pace down and have a more spice of life monster of the day school type setting where there'll be threats and sometimes maybe the main protagonist will have to save the world, but for the most part it's just a very casual anime. That's clearly what they're going for with Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s just wants to be that casual anime again, especially since the last 3 animes they tried to tell a serious story with serious elements and it just didn't work well. People debate that 5D's, the end of it wasn't as good as the beginning. Clearly, they want to steer clear from the more serious storytelling and try to go for that younger audience, which is essentially what the anime is for anyways. It's for the little kids. It's for the kids who's like, Mom, I want the God cards. Yeah, I saw Yugi use it. Hell yeah. That's what the anime's always been for anyways. So, with that in mind, looking at the plot might just be a useless endeavor, but I don't quite get the concept of rush duels. It's made by this kid, but it wasn't. And then apparently all of a sudden all the duel discs, it just changed to they go from 5 slots to 3, and all the adults are just cool about it. But they're trying to keep it a secret even though that's physically impossible at this rate. And conveniently enough, by episode 4, which is how many there is at this point, they haven't even really, like clearly the adults of the world know about its existence, but they haven't done anything yet. It just really comes off as a half-baked idea to begin with. Episode 2 gives us more information on Brook himself, implying that he tried to get into the big leagues, but failed. He basically makes up a lot of stories about himself that aren't true. He's like, oh yeah, I'm a hotshot in the pro league, and then you actually see the same scene that he's talking about, and he loses. He gets his ass handed to him. He's very conceited, too. You know, often taking the approach of like, well, if you have no problem with me running things, I'll run things, no problem. Often being fueled by his ambition to grow into the world. He pretty much acts like most children do, to be perfectly honest with you. Then you have Stalker Lady. Now, Stalker Lady, she really isn't that bad of a character, to be honest with you. I just thought that was very weird. She's like snapping photos of the main protagonist, and often makes claims that she does not like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, which she clearly does. And that's what the third episode is about. It's about more on her character, and I guess she plays the guitar, and she's athletic, I guess. Does decent at school. Like I said, has this weird fascination with the main protagonist for whatever reason. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, the main protagonist is a robot, and the robot is clearly just the comedic relief. He's basically the first half of Reigns, where I was always with Yusaku. He's basically I from Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns. He's basically just the comedic relief for when the moments get very tense. And then you have the stuck-up character, Mr. Sticky. And Mr. Sticky, he's alright. All these characters are pretty much based off of, like, very stereotypical archetypes. Get it? Archetype? No, but seriously, they all have stock stereotypes that you see in, like, frankly, almost every other media. Like, you got the girl that might be interested in the protagonist, you got the conceited guy, you got the main protagonist who's kind of well-meaning, but also kind of a little mischievous. Obviously wants some change and has no problem taking the steps towards making a change. Well-meaning overall. And then, of course, the guy who's so anal about the rules in lieu of acting as a spaz otherwise. And that's essentially my entire view on this anime so far. It's basically just nothing but stereotypes and just somewhat average duels. And let's talk about the duels for a minute. I actually think the duels are probably the best part of the anime. Of course they are. I mean, it's literally selling the trading card game. They have to be the best, right? Like, if the duels were not the best, no one's gonna buy the product, right? So they have to do that right, correct? I mean, yeah. And I will admit, it does very much feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! Despite the fact that it obviously isn't Yu-Gi-Oh! Because you don't just get to summon as many times as you want. You don't get to draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. You just don't get to do that. But I will admit, when things get hyped, and they do get hyped relatively quickly, because that is the point of rush duels. They even say that in the anime. Yeah, it is very reminiscent of like old school Yu-Gi-Oh! In the sense where it's like, summon a monster, attack, you know, boom. You got these cards, and then you go right in, and then right into the action. So I will admit, it does do its intended job very well. Really, as of 4 episodes, it's really all I got to say about it. There isn't too much else that's going on. I mean, they've shown hints that the authorities know what Rush Duels is. They even shown a character in the 3rd episode that hasn't come to fruition yet, but I wanted to give it 4 episodes before I made this sort of video. I was going to make this video last weekend, and I just decided not to because I'm like, you know what? I need one more episode to really make my opinion. Now, am I going to watch this for the rest of the season? Probably. But if things don't shape up and shake up by the end of the season, I might just skip the rest of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. Because honestly, I'm not going to lie, I don't see enough in this concept for it to actually keep me invested, never mind last 100 episodes. Even though Vrains was technically the shortest of every Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, Vrains was at least able to get over 100 episodes out. I mean, yeah, that had to come with the cost of those recap episodes that, you know, I explained before were really well hated. Even I didn't like them. They just didn't have the time. They obviously had the time to come up with Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, but like I said, they clearly just want an anime that's more like GX, where it's not going to go the serious route, it's going to go the opposite. It wants to appeal to the younger audience who might just be getting into Yu-Gi-Oh! And in fact, they want you to get into Rush Duels. Now, do I think Rush Duels is going to go anywhere? I said no. But here's the thing about that opinion. I didn't think Duel Links was gonna last that long. I thought Duel Links was going to just be this one little, they took the Pokemon Go model. They just copied and pasted the Pokemon Go model and really drove in that nostalgia value. That's all that was, and yet they're still updating to this day. So while I say I don't think kids are gonna get into this, I could be dead fucking wrong, to be perfectly frank. I don't know. What I do know is that if this anime just doesn't catch up or really get more interesting by the end of the season, I'm probably not gonna watch it anymore. So what do you guys think of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s?